So we've seen a lot of videos talking about how it is to grow up with a Filipino mother. And if you're new to the channel, we all have Filipino mothers. So we really wanted to talk about our experience growing up in the Philippines with a Filipino mother. So, kung kayo guys, like what is the most distinctive thing you can say that, that you've had with the experience that you had with mom and with your mom? Well, for me, something that I've noticed growing up, and of course, when I'm, talking about my experience with my mom, I'm not saying it's unique to her because she's Filipino, but from what I've noticed with my mom, with all the Filipino moms that I meet, of my friends, of my cousin, one of the main traits that always stands out is ang bait talaga nila, like ang buot, kabuot sila. But yeah, they're like just really super nice women. And the reason why I wanted to mention that, because again, I'm not saying it's unique to Filipinas, but it's just very common, right? Mm-hmm. Like I would say 9.9 out of 10 in the meet, because like that's always what's like the impression that I'm left with na ang buot or ang bait. So I think that's something that I can personally say with my mom, like every person she met, she was just always so nice to people, and it's something that kind of it inspires you. It's like I want to also be it rubs off, and you want to be nice to other people. So that's really something I learned from my mom, and I really really appreciate it, and from also the Filipino moms that I met.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I guess this is a little bit of a different thing, but I think the thing I appreciate the most from my mom is that she does a lot of home cooking, and I feel like learning the value of cooking at home, learning to cook from her, learning her recipes. They were all like things that I still carry with me even now when I don't live with her. And so yeah, I'm always cooking, and I love cooking, I love eating. I think you guys know that. I love cooking for you guys.
Yeah. About cooking, I'm not sure if this is me. I'm actually curious because me and Becca, every time we'd like go to school and we have our packed lunch, it's like very specific yung sa Tupperware. Like they would always, my mom would always be like, basta ibalik niyo yung Tupperware niyo, ha? So is that like a Filipino mom thing? Did your mom also do that?
We had to return. We had special Tupperware for everything. Actually, there was like this. I don't know if this is common, but I've never seen it outside of this situation in school. It was like we had this little like bottle thing.
It's like 4 different.
But it's like sections.
Yeah.
And there's just food in there.
Yeah.
And it's like, I did really appreciate that because I was doing a lot of sports and stuff, and so I needed the energy, and so I was always eating every class, so I had like 2 or 3 of those. It was really nice.
Mga arcane, kami na mga imol, try lang. Isa lang ang Tupperware namon. So, we only had like, that was my mom.
That was only one time though, okay?
One time na nakachibok sa allowance. Pero kami, like, so that, like, our mom was her love language was, like cooking. So, she always made us like yung egg, hot dog, otan. That was very like our breakfast, like going to like school for our lunch every time we went to school. So, But also the good thing, cause like with our mom, she was very good in cooking like Filipino food, but also Nigerian food as well, cause our dad's Nigerian. So it was always like the best of both worlds, and that's what really inspired me, to learn like different dishes from different countries.
Yeah.
So
I didn't know your mom also cooked Nigerian.
Yeah, she was pretty good at it. Disclaimer for those who haven't watched, for context, if you want more context as to why we're in the Philippines and blah blah blah, you can watch our Growing Up in the Philippines video in the link below for more context. But yes, our mom knew how to cook Filipino and Nigerian food because she also lived there for 12, 13 plus years in Nigeria. Yeah. So, ganon. My, I guess, experience with like my mom, and I can say it's very unique to a Filipino mother, is yung protectiveness. And again, I know all mothers are protective, but from my experience and just also with like the different like friends that I had, and I met their like mga titas ko, their moms, they were very like, and this can be a negative and a positive, because they cuddled the kids so much na minsan because also
I think it even expands outside of just coddling, because I would even say people who are like unselfish and who are super kind would become selfish when it comes from regards to their kids, especially like Filipino moms. because I've noticed like there are certain times where like a Filipino mom will, in order to benefit their kid, will do something that outwardly somewhat negatively impacts another kid. Like, oh, let's just cut the line here. Oh, it's okay,
Yeah, that makes sense. And that's also part of like the, mama bear protectiveness. Like for me, the positive sense is that syempre, it's nice to have that mother, like,
It definitely like impacts them.
Yeah.
I think so.
But then negative wise,
Yeah.
since, we also have that different mindset as Nigerians, okay, after 18, bahala ka na sa buhay mo. Here it's like, I know some friends who still, live with their parents and they're like 30 years old. But again, that's also the culture here because they're very family oriented. So here it's not really it's a norm, but outside the Philippines, people might consider that a bit strange.
I mean, I guess I think, with the nuances with Orso, yung mga nakakaiba is because even when we were living in Nigeria, with our mom, it was kind of like a household where we were practicing like, Nigerian culture, to an extent, and then Filipino culture as well, even though at that point we had never actually even been to the Philippines, like, the food, the music, just the way we talk to each other. My mom was also speaking Tagalog sometimes, things like that. So, parang like, in my brain, it's kind of programmed with both cultures, the way I see it. But yung sa protective or overprotective, depends on how you look at it. I think with me, it's when I was younger, I saw it as like a con. Because syempre, when you're young, parang, ano ba naman to si ano, parang ganon.
Yeah.
But then when you get older, you kind of then realize that, okay, so these were the reasons why, she was doing this or she did it for me. So I think, some parts, and this is just in general, comes with age when it comes to like realizations of what your parents did for you. But that's my take
I
on
think
that.
that's an all kids thing where you think that your parents
Yeah.
are too much,
Yeah.
or they're worrying too much, or they're teaching you things that are useless. But in reality, it can be very useful.
I have a question. Like, was your mom strict, or is your mom strict?
I would say of my two parents, my mom is definitely the strict one. She's the one we feared. I think I think that might be a common Filipino mom thing actually.
No,
But that's the thing with
with ours was the opposite. So our mom was like, so our dad was really strict, and our mom was like, I'm not saying she allowed us to do everything we want, but 90% of the time we did everything we want, and she was the one that, we
Kind of
could
like vouch for us. Like,
Yeah.
let's say we wanted to go to this party, and our dad would be like, no. Our mom would be like, sige na, ano muna sila. So she was very like chill. I think.
yeah.
I'm not sure that was unique to her compared to
Yeah.
like, when we were having conversations with our friends, yung sa
Mga titas namin.
mga titas
yeah.
namin. Medyo iba in that
Oh.
sense. I'm not sure because my mom not grew up, but she lived in Nigeria as well. So I'm not sure, but yeah, she wasn't strict.
So my mom grew up in a military household here. So she was very much about like, being on time,
Oh,
being
same.
organized,
Same.
Oh, yeah,
being
yeah.
all these like military things. Like she woke up at 6 a.m. So we would wake up at 6 a.m. And that was what it was like,
Yeah. Kasi yung dad
with
ng
her.
mom namin, he was also in the military. They had like, how many?
She was, I think, the oldest out of
She was the
seven
oldest out of
siblings.
8,
or-
9. Ang dami nila eh.
Let me count how many siblings. Oh, that's okay. I think there's like 7 or 8.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, so that's also why we wanted to talk about this, because he has a Filipino mom. We have a Filipino mom. Technically, they kind of grew up in the same like military background, but they're also like, I'm based on what I'm hearing, completely different. So yeah, that's also one of the things that we wanted to point out. And I guess one other thing that I wanted to point out was just and this is not unique to Filipino mothers, but this is something that I experienced with my mom, and also knowing like my friends, and we had the same conversations. It's yung ego, yung pride minsan.
No, yung pride.
Yung like, alam mo na sila may kasalanan, pero yung imbes na mag-sorry sila, eto, kain ka na dahil, ganun. Pero like, we really experienced that with our mom growing up. Yeah, would you say the same?
Definitely. I don't want to sound so sure about that, but I think for sure there's a level of pride and ego when it comes to the parenting, at least what I experienced. I don't know if this is exactly within the same topic, but sometimes, she would brag to her friends about, different achievements that me or my brother or my sister, we achieved. And it felt like she lived vicariously through us, to the point that sometimes we were doing things that we just genuinely did not enjoy. But of course, from her perspective, she thinks that they're very good or something.
They're
they're
good
very
for you,
useful.
yeah,
They're good
yeah.
for me. So I understand her perspective. there. However, it wasn't necessarily like, as a kid, you don't necessarily enjoy everything your parents do for you. So that was sort of what the situation felt like.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, because like, I guess most of like my conversations with my Filipino friends, like one of the common things I would say that we relate on is not more so like ma-pride, but yung sensitivity level, like walang filter ba. Like let's say for example, yung ang taba mo or kamangot sa'yo mo, if people speak Ilonggo, you get that. But again, I'm not saying like all Filipinos mom do it, but I've just noticed like very walang filter. So sometimes, when you're a kid, not saying it's necessarily a bad thing, but I feel like I would have appreciated maybe a bit more like sensitivity, because when you're at home, you want like a safe space. But I'm not sure that's just like a culture thing, right?
On one hand, it's a good thing because you learn to develop. You sort of start to get over your own insecurities. You have a bully at home, so you start to develop a thick skin. I don't want to call her a bully. It's my mom, sorry. But really need to learn a bit about the sensitivity aspect.
That's good that you said that, because that's interesting that you said that, because there was one video that I watched, and he was about like things that Filipino moms do, and then the thing he said was like, what she said, like ang taba mo or ang ami mo, or let's say you're comparing your like, also some Filipino moms that I know do this, like, okay, let's say I graduated cum laude, and then they're gonna compare some other person to me or vice versa. So parang it's like, oh, si nag-ano cum laude, ikaw ano balak mo dyan? So parang ganon. And the comments were very polarized. So yung iba, they was like, yeah, you need to be more sensitive, blah blah blah. But then the older like community was like, indeed, like that's just a Filipino culture. You need to be more, thick skin. We say that because we care. Parang ganon. So I just want to hear your thoughts about how you guys, think of that if your parents were to say, "Oy, ang taba mo," or "Oy, si ano baka."
Well, personally, I think that it's good to develop your own thick skin. I think that's something that shouldn't go away. That's something that has gone away a little bit. If you notice a bit about the way people are reacting and the way people are going to seek help. However, it doesn't mean that there shouldn't be any sensitivity. I feel like there should be things like people should be more sensible about. Right?
Yeah.
You can say certain things and sort of help them develop a thick skin, and you don't have to like necessarily coddle them entirely, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But at the same time, you shouldn't say something that's super harsh. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I agree.
I guess for values, I was gonna ask like, so growing up with a Filipina mom, what would you say is like the most important value that you've learned?
Well, I don't think I could just like limit it to one value, because honestly, every time I'm like just thinking about my life experiences and trying to be introspective, I always fall on like, how things would have been so different if I didn't grow up with, a Filipino mom. And I think because I did, I definitely turned out for the better, just because, again, with my mom specifically, how she was so nurturing, so caring, the value of just always just trying to be nice to people and be a generally good person. She was very religious, so I kind of got that faith and that humanity from her.
A foundation,
moral
foundation.
That moral foundation from her
yeah.
more so. I think selflessness was a big thing that I've noticed with my mom and a lot of Filipina moms like as well, like mga titas. I'm talagang selfless. To be honest, I'm still kind of like curious if that's always a good thing, because with my mom, I think she was honestly selfless to a fault. Like sometimes she would put other people before herself, right? And it didn't really end up. It's not unique to Filipinas. We're not trying to generalize, but just mention our own personal experiences. But I think when it comes to selflessness, it's just really a common thing that I've noticed. But again, I'm really, really curious to see the comments, to see if this is relatable, your own experience, things that we can and just have a conversation about. But I think really values is definitely just that, just being like a nice person. I don't know, that's really like a
Nice,
something I always take away from my mom.
caring, selfless,
Nurturing, yeah.
I mean, no one's perfect, right? No one's perfect.
I mean,
but,
one thing
yeah.
I genuinely really value is that like my mom really like emphasized being like a gentleman, and you know, taking care of yourself and taking care of other people first, in any situation. Because you should be presentable. You shouldn't be like, not necessarily for your own sake or for presentation's sake, but just because it's a good principle to have.
Yeah.
And I felt like some of those principles that she taught were maybe too idealistic, but definitely very helpful.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, same plus one coming. Let's
Yeah.
say same coming and a mother. But yeah, I can just to wrap it up. I think that we can all say that we are our own like individual selves, and like, you know, we, again, no one's perfect, but we're trying to be the best people that we can be, and we got most of that trait from our Filipino mothers. So let us know what you want us to talk about. Like, leave it in the comments. Let us know if you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe. And we'll
Don't forget
see
to hit
you.
the bell
Yeah.
notifications.
Ready.
And we'll see you
Ring the
guys
bell.
next time.
See you
Ring
guys
the
next time.